Hello friends, my name is Keisha, and I'm a proud member of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. I'm also a survivor of human trafficking. My trafficking began in Canada and crossed it to the United States. I was stalked, hunted, and ignored by the very systems that were meant to protect me. This is why, with my father, Dale Richardson, we started the CARES Project, an Indigenous survivor-led movement for humanity. We are dedicated to exposing human trafficking, government corruption, and holding institutions accountable. The judicial branch is broken. It has failed to restrain the evils that have come upon this republic. Whether it's family court failures, weaponization of the judiciary, COVID-era harms, or human trafficking, the courts have allowed these issues to continue unchecked for too long. One of the most powerful tools we're using is the petition for redress of grievances. These are lawful constitutional actions rooted in the founding principles of this country. On May 19, 2026, a formal petition for redress of grievances was submitted to the United States Congress. This petition is demanding that Congress and the President use the powers under Article 4, Section 4 to preserve this Republican form of government by restraining these abuses pending congressional investigation. Through the CARES Project Action Plan, we are mobilizing people across the United States to strengthen this effort. This petition has been created as a template. If you or someone you love have been hurt by these same systemic failures in the courts or by government institutions, your evidence matters. When you come forward, please bring your evidence along with a copy of the petition for redress of grievances. This helps connect your story to this growing constitutional record being placed before Congress. We are asking you to stand with us. Join the CARES Project Action Plan and help us build a precedent that demands accountability and protects the God-given rights of American families. Our united voices will compel Congress to uphold the Constitution and safeguard our liberties. United we stand, one nation under God. I will close with my favorite quote. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who will not be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle to the pole. Men who will stand for the right, though the heavens may fall. Thank you.
Hello, hello everybody, and welcome to the CARES Project podcast. Today we have with us Sam Anthony, who is a online media pioneer. He's the founder of Your News. He has 2 decades of experience dealing with the media, and you're also working on an initiative that you're trying to raise money to push this citizen journalism project forward. So welcome back to the show. You want to reintroduce yourself to our audience?
Sure, Dale. First of all, good to see you. Thanks for having me on. So I've been on the show at least a couple times. I think I run a platform called Your News. The domain is yournews.com. Our website would look like any news website, but we're local in every city in the United States. So we have the ability to distribute news to a city, to a county, to a market, state, regional, or national. The void we fill is the collapse of the legacy media. We currently have over 6,000 independent news reporters covering everything from, the high school football game to the city council meeting to the bank robbery to car crash. I have people do events, NASCAR, Formula One, boxing, you name it. It's very broad in scope, but ultimately, and Dale, I know you know this, everything is moving to creator-based platforms. That's what we are. Our niche is local news. Nobody does that.
And actually, come to think about it, like we were talking beforehand about the First Amendment and how the right to the press is a free press is part of the First Amendment, and also the right to petition for redress of grievances, like my daughter was talking about what we were doing here. I actually was thinking that what you're doing works right along well with what we're doing, because people should be reporting on people going to hold their government accountable and trying to use the Constitution to restore the republic. And
Well, you hit it right on the head. And so, it used to be that freedom of the press was freedom for the press to tell you whatever the hell they wanted to tell you. Okay. And
yes,
the internet has changed all that. So everybody's familiar with Rumble or YouTube, right? Where, anybody can be a broadcast journalist, even if you didn't go to broadcast journalism school. Now, we all saw what happened when the government gets involved in the First Amendment. You had all those people, which probably yourself included, was kicked off of YouTube, right? I would think.
yes,
Okay.
numerous times.
And by the way, this is the sad part. They kicked everybody off that was telling the truth. I mean,
Yes.
They literally had doctors who were working on patients, not just like one or two, thousands of them that were coming up and saying, hey, that doesn't work. This is working. Here's the oh, well, ban them. Okay. I mean, so basically, here's how I see it. If you're a liar, you're welcome on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're telling the truth, they want nothing to do with you because they obviously have an agenda. And as far as I'm concerned, all those people that died because of COVID, I think they're responsible for it. Okay. That's one. Facebook is the same thing. They even had FBI. You heard Zuckerberg. Oh, well, we had to have FBI agents in here, banning stuff. So our tax dollars were going into our FBI agents were working on behalf of the federal government within Facebook to be able to censor the American people. I mean, that is so screwed up. And this is where we're
at. And we need to people need to go back. Like I tell people, even if you're not an American, go and read the Federalist Papers, because the Americans, they got their understanding from the British system, which is pretty much every Commonwealth country. And if you listen to what the founding fathers said, and you listen to what a lot of the framers of Commonwealth constitutions, they all said essentially the same thing, especially when it came to the role of the courts and everything else like that, because they had that sort of understanding. And then the Americans went further because they were like, yeah, you guys are just sick. We're not taking the tyranny and you need to get out. And they treated the American colonists actually worse than the others because they didn't treat Canada the same way. They kept Canada as like their favorite son, and then they were trying to bend over the Americans. But what it is there is that people need to understand the way their constitution works and understand what these things are, because you don't have to be a media outlet to be a journalist or a citizen journalist. Like the freedom of the press extends to anybody, right? So that if you want to go out and report in your neighborhood, you have the same protections as somebody who works at Fox. That's the way it's supposed to be. But in the way that we know that it is, it's not. And then when they have the companies where people don't realize, when the government contracts a company to censor you, that's still unconstitutional, because that corporation becomes the agent of the government. And because of the agent principal relationship, the same constitutional protections and limits apply to the agent of the government that does to the government itself. And that's where people need to start realizing and start doing something about it.
Well, I would agree with you. Does anybody else that's in charge? Because all the stuff we witnessed was all agents of the government, because the government was actually doing this. They were the ones that put the people in place. They were the ones telling the tech giants, this is the content we want censored. So it's a shame that we've gotten to this point. As I was explaining to you earlier, it seems to me, after watching this stuff go on, I mean, I'm over 60 years old. I can remember when I was 20, listening to the same exact issues, Dale. We need to reform Social Security. We need to have better, better border patrol, and we need to wait for immigrants and migration laws to be better. Everything, gun laws are better. Nothing's ever been fixed. You have to form a conclusion. They're not going to. It's just talking points.
I know that you're the same generation as me, because I'm 51 and Gen X, and I'm at the point where I don't care. Like, I mean, we were kind of the generation that kind of got stuck between the boomers and the millennials, and we got forgotten.
I'm a boomer.
No, if you're 61, you're Gen X. You're not a boomer.
Come on. I hold on to say, what age group are boomers?
You were what? 60, you were 60 what? 60.
It says born between 46 and 64. So I was 65.
Yeah, so
So,
you're Gen X, your first year of Gen X.
oh, okay. Well, see, you just pulled the wool right. I want to be a boomer.
No, because the Gen Xers, we were a little different because we were the ones that just had the attitude that we don't care. We're going to get things done. And these are the people that are doing the most. Like here in Canada, the boomers are the ones that are all under Mark Carney. Now that some of them are starting to wake up. But it was like the ones that were in the hippie movement that did a lot of drugs are the ones that were destroying the country. And you see the effects of don't do drugs. But yeah, but we need changes.
We do need changes, and the first thing you need to do is you need to get rid of the people that aren't solving the problems. Because I don't care even if they're good guys. You've been there for 20 years. What problems have you solved? Okay, all the same stuff still exists. Nothing ever gets better. As a matter of fact, it's getting even more cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So I think they need term limits, right? Or as I always say, as far as I'm concerned, most of Washington and Congress, they're just bank robbers. Their votes are for sale and they sell to the highest bidder, and they figured out a way, because they're all lawyers, to do money laundering, Dale, right? And bring all this money back to themselves. And the reason we're $40 trillion in debt is because they really didn't care, because their pockets are being lined by it. So I say, if you want to get rid of bank robbers, take all the money out of the bank. Okay. And then Warren Buffett said the other day, just make it so if you don't balance the budget, you could never run for office again. So if they don't balance it, everybody in office is done. A whole new crew.
Yes.
And that'll fix it.
But this is where the importance of the media, which they'd say would be the fifth estate. This, if you're not telling the truth of what's going on, then people don't know that they should do something. And this is the issue. A lot of people are being sold a lie. And this became very evident during COVID, how much the government was propagandizing people. Like, you would hear people, and we knew about it, but then they would say, oh, if you say this, well, you must be a conspiracy theorist. And then it was slapped in your face. And even here in Canada, they had military men coming into Parliament saying that they were using psyops on propagandizing the people. And I'm like, this isn't conspiracy. They're just admitting it openly. And we know that they're doing this in the States. So there's a huge importance for the people to tell the truth and to say what it is, so that the people can be informed and then they can make the right decisions, because they need to hold the government accountable. And if you're lying to the people, you'll never get the government held to account.
100%. So here's the good news. So I got this all covered, Dale. The legacy media is going out of business. Not in Canada, because it's funded by the government.
Yes.
And by the way, ours was too, through through the what do they call them? The nonprofits that they were all funneling money through, right? The NGOs, right?
Yes.
So billions of dollars went to Reuters, billions of dollars went to AP, billions of dollars went to all these different news outlets. Politico got literally, what were they getting, 800,000 a month or something like that? They basically supported all the crap. Okay.
Yes.
So all that stuff has been annihilated, and all of a sudden now, everybody's on a shoestring. All that stuff's going to be gone. Everything is moving to creator-based platforms. For the audience, pay attention to what I just said. YouTube has 61 million channels. That means there's 61 million people broadcasting on YouTube. You know how many of them actually went to broadcast journalism school? Percentage-wise, 0. Okay, yes, there's a few people, but for the most part, nobody did. And the marketplace decides. Then you have TikTok and Instagram, who have over 100 million creators. So what we are is a creator-based model. We're hyper-local, but we're a citizen-powered press. So just like those platforms, anybody can sign up to become a news reporter on our platform. And Dale, who would you trust more? The person that's reporting it 6 states away, or would you rather have the person on the ground telling you what's going on, right? It's always the people in the community. So
Yes.
we're building a news organization, but it's all a citizen-powered press, and we're putting the power to press in the hands of the people. Now, this is scary, not for people who are conservatives, but I'm talking about for government, because they were able to keep the lights or the focus off of themselves because they controlled the press. And the example would be the Hunter Biden laptop, right? Which got literally zero attention.
Yes.
Anything that the media that goes against the agenda they're pushing, they just don't even talk about it. Well, now currently we live in a place which we're centralized news, where you have six institutions controlling the narrative, and everybody's heard the Sinclair Broadcasting thing where you have 50 people saying the same thing at the same time on television. All that's going away. Imagine having a couple 100,000 news reporters covering local news all over the United States. How could I possibly know what happened at a city council meeting in Schaumburg, Illinois? Right? Or in Burbank or in Miami. You can't. So you have to trust the reporter that they're going to be out there telling you the truth. And if somebody lies, because people say to me, well, what if people lie? Well, then the public will let us know. There's no such thing as a real journalist who lies. Okay. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you lied to your audience, Dale, how long would it take them to figure it out?
It's not long.
Right. Like they would be sitting on the other going, oh, this is bullshit, right? I mean, that would be the first thing they would say.
Yes.
So they know what's happening. You're not going to fool them. So what's going to end up replacing the legacy media is going to be what we do, a citizen-powered press. And it's going to be your neighbor who has never been in the news business, that's proactive in the community, that goes over to a school board meeting or a city council meeting, or hell, covers a high school football game. It doesn't matter. And they're going to report that on our platform and share it out with the community, but you're already going to know who they are. That's where it's all going. You're not going to worry. The old guard's never going to be able to survive new media. New media is all creator-based. This is where it's all headed. I just had a conversation with a woman in Los Angeles. She's young, and she's not going to get a job. Like ESPN's that. She likes sports. I told her, I said, look, everybody wants to cover the Monday Night Football game, but there's no void to fill there. The void to fill is nobody's covering the high school game. You want to build followers, creator-based platforms. You're your own business. You need to fill a void, right? And so if she covers that, she can still cover the Monday night, but you're going to get a ton of people following you for the high school sports. And those same people also want to know who won the Monday Night Football game. So give people what they need, and they'll come to you for everything. And that's the point. So that was my advice I gave her. Fill that void. And once somebody else steps in, there's no need for them because you're already covering the games that those people want covered.
Yes. And then they'll come to you for other things. And I want people to understand. I'm going to just read the text of the First Amendment because this is critical. Like it says, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. This is literally, when you read this is all of the things that would take place in a tyrannical government if they restricted them. Because if you start taking away people's freedom to practice religion, as long as they're law-abiding, then you get tyranny. Because then atrocities happen. Whenever somebody's looked throughout the world, whenever somebody's persecuting another religion, people are getting killed unlawfully. Bad. When you restrict people's freedom of speech, that's usually because you're getting into tyranny. Then you need the freedom of press, because if the journalists are getting muzzled, you're also in tyranny. And then the petition for redress of grievances is like the last thing they did before they had to sign the Declaration of Independence, because that failed. So that's why they put these things there. All of these things are critical to maintaining a free society. And then you have the second when those fail, because that's what they had to do. And these guys were very smart and understood what they're doing. So having people coming out and telling the truth of what's going on is important to maintain your republic, because if you don't have a free press, you're under tyranny. There's no two ways about it.
So for the audience, what Dale just said was, if the government censors you on the First Amendment, you got to kill them with the Second Amendment so that you can have your First Amendment. That's basically what you just said.
Yes.
That's exactly what you just said. Yeah. So, right. So in the event that you're not going to allow me to speak freely, then the Second Amendment I'm going to use to be able to speak freely. But
Yes.
I'm going to use force to do it.
Well, yes, because at the end of the day, the only reason why they have, like, this is why people don't understand the reason why they put the Second Amendment there. It was to defend yourself from an unjust government, because that's exactly what they had to do. Because the British were trying to disarm them. If they had succeeded, well, we would be all under the jackboots of tyranny right now. But that didn't happen. So they put that there. It's a deterrent so that you can have the force necessary to make sure that if they decide they want to overstep, that you can say, no, you're not. Because this is what the Constitution says that we agreed with. And if you step out of line and you go to be tyrannical, we'll replace you, if necessary, by force. But you don't want that. But that is there as that bulwark. Because nobody wants war. It's nonsense. But this is why we need to have things like this for people to know what is going on, because there's many processes that can be taken long before this. Like, the founding fathers were very smart men, and this is why they structured this and put the freedom of press, because they need to expose the evils that are going on, especially when it comes to the government.
Oh, and it's a shame we got to be here, to be witnessing this. I mean, so I keep saying, take the money out of government, make it so these guys can't spend a nickel. The conversation we had, if you lived in an HOA and you had hired a company and they were spending more than they were getting, and they were getting a loan against your buildings, I mean, would you still hire them next year after they just put you in debt a few $1 million? I mean, the answer is no. So as far as I'm concerned, any of these politicians that are there now, they all need to go, because they obviously can't fix anything. Or they need to eliminate the money where there's no money to be made, and then all of them will just leave on their own because there's no money in this. They basically just turned this into a criminal organization. So, you could say one is worse than the other. I'm not going to argue it. But at the end of the day, all of them are enriching themselves. All of them.
When I sit down and I think about this is where people need to be informed of what people are doing to correct the situation, because the people are the ones that are going to have to fix this situation. Because the government, the corrupt people in government that are on the take, whether they're corrupt, whether they're being bribed, whether they're being blackmailed, it doesn't matter. The outcome is still the same. So the people have to be the ones to change their minds or change the direction, the way things go. And no matter which, everybody pretty much agrees. The greatest weapon that you have in politics is public pressure. And that's what there needs to be a lot of, an insane amount of public pressure on these politicians, that the resistance is so high that they begin to dread coming into work, because people are going to be in their faces. They should have 1,000 citizen journalists running up to every politician, sticking cameras in their faces on a daily basis. Why are you not doing your job? Why are you not getting this done? They're going to start getting tired of this, because the people have a right to access them, but you have to just be persistent, be like a pest. I don't know if anybody watched hockey, but I remember back when the New Jersey Devils were winning all those cups, they had Claude Lemieux, and he pissed everybody off that they would start taking dumb penalties, and then they would win games like that. That's basically what you need to do, is to drive these people to the brink that they're going to say, okay, I've had enough. I'm either going to leave or I'm going to do what you say. That's really what this has to be.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say, the reason we are in this mess is because of the mainstream media, right?
Yes.
It's 100%. They were not reporting on anything. So, there's only two ways to solve this problem as I see it. And one is through a civil war, which nobody wants, right? Where, you're not really killing Americans, but really just eliminating Congress and, the Senate, and getting rid of these people and starting over and have to do a complete reboot. The second way is to control the press. Agreed?
Yeah.
Okay. So if the legacy media is not going to survive, what's going to replace it is going to be a hyper-local, citizen-powered press, most likely global, that puts the power of the press in the hands of the people, not the institutions and not the government. And so that's the point I'm trying to make. So ultimately, if people don't want to have a civil war to fix this problem, then the next way to fix it would be to control the next mainstream media. What we do will become the next mainstream media, Dale. Make no mistake about it. It will be a creator-based, hyper-local, citizen-powered press where you have people that are covering anything from the church bake sale to the Monday night football game to the NASCAR race to the local high school game. It's very broad in scope. I have people that do travel news, NASCAR news, Formula One. I have people that do local community events. And this is all over the United States. And we're expanding and growing. And here's the good part. Nobody's hiring. Nobody. When it comes to the mainstream media, there's almost 500,000 people on LinkedIn that call themselves freelance journalists. These are the ones that are still advertising. The ones that aren't just went on to do something else because there's no jobs.
Yes.
So all of them are being replaced, and they're being replaced by people like you. Watch what happens when I come into Canada, because that's my next country.
Yeah, they desperately need that, because
your country's gonna hate me.
Even the independent media is being influenced heavily in Canada, because some of them are aligned with political parties, and so they're getting their platform and their everything else like that by basically towing the line of the government and not holding them accountable. Like, they will just downplay all of the whatever party they're aligned with. They'll just downplay the failures of that party. And if you're supposed to be the media, you're supposed to call it like it is, regardless of who it is. Because how can you keep the country running properly if you don't tell the truth the way it is? Just
in your country, it's control. The press is owned by the government.
Yes.
So in our country, it is too, through NGOs.
Yes.
Okay? So now all of a sudden there are buckets of money just left, and like, what do we do? So now you have a handful of people that are still cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but nobody pays attention anyway.
No.
Dale. I find that I don't. I've gotten to the point now where I'm just done with it. I don't believe they're going to fix a thing. I think the only solution is to either, like I said, take the money out of DC, where there is no, you can't make a nickel if you go in there other than your salary, and you'll be a representative of the people. And I don't believe that's going to happen. So the only other way to do it is to build an army of news reporters like you.
That's it. I mean, we could either fight an information war, a war of ideas, or you can fight a kinetic war. And I don't want to fight a kinetic war. So I would rather do the war of ideas and then get people armed with the knowledge that they need to do to make the changes to get these things dealt with. And that's the preferable. Anybody who says the other way, you're nuts. Like, I mean, violence is the last resort, and nobody wants that. And that's really it. So let's do it the right way.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we're looking for, is we're building an army of news reporters. But the cool part is, I could have somebody that, like, the way platforms work is the creators all have a sphere of influence, right? The people that read their content. So like, I have a gentleman, Mark Fincham, perfect example. Mark is the senator out of Arizona, but he's also one of my creators. So he bypasses mainstream media and puts his stuff out on my platform, and we run it obviously in politics in the state of Arizona, but he shares that on his social media page. I mean, X alone has almost 250,000 followers, Dale.
Yeah.
So his articles get massive traction. Very soon, like, either this week or probably this week, I'm going to pick up somebody that's got about 600,000 in socials. And then that drives that audience. So last month I had a little under 1.7 million visitors because I have 6,000 creators promoting their own content hosted on my site. So basically, if I want to double my traffic, I double my contributor base.
Yeah.
That's just how it works.
Actually, kind of think about it. Like, we were talking about the stuff about the courts and stuff. Because I deal with a lot of people who are having issues with the courts, and obviously this is one of the main reasons why we did this petition. But I mean, a lot of the people could start reporting in their areas about what's going on with the court system and the judges and the things that need to be cleaned up, and give them a platform to talk about it. And even the people that are going to petition their government, they can use this. And in fact, I'll tell people to use this platform to start reporting the issues in their communities. Because a lot of people there, and I mean, I deal with people who are exposing corruption and all that kind of stuff. This is a platform where they can do this and then have that platform to do it, and hopefully make a few dollars in their pocket by doing so at the same time, because people are getting cut off of the work that they're doing.
Listen, what you just described sounds great, and I'm sure we'll find them. Our platform, every writer, or content creator has a passion. Like the woman I just talked to, hers was sports. She loves sports.
Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't really get into politics. She's not interested in it. But then I could be talking to somebody else and they love travel. And then I could be talking to somebody else and, they love, local like entertainment news or movie critics, theater critics, things of that nature. So we're just fishing. But you'll get the people who love the political stuff, just like you'll get the travel writers and the entertainment writers. It's just the way it's going to work. It's the law of large numbers. But the marketplace is ultimately going to decide. And, we're in the process of building our creator base. And I'm going to tell you something, Dale. And I don't know, your content is probably on Rumble, right?
Yes.
And it's on Lindell TV, which Lindell has... How many creators on that? About 9? Or is it less or more?
Got something like that. Like it's going to be a lot more, because they used to have the 3 networks, but now they're down to 1, but they're going to add more, which is what's going to happen. But yeah.
Okay. Well, look, I promote Lindell. I have him on my front page, right? So you could watch real live news on the site. Like this show right now is on our site right now, and it's live in the multimedia section, which, by the way, can you get on from Canada to our site?
Yes, I have to use in some cases I have to use a VPN.
Well, I'm going to tell you why, because we were under attack for like 4 or 5 days. And finally the developer, it was coming in from all over the world. So he shut down the whole world minus the US. So you needed he said, just tell people to I got like 50 news reporters overseas. They're like, we can't get in. I'm like, oh crap, use a VPN. It was just because we were getting attacked and they were coming in from different countries. So he just shut them all down. Hopefully at some point we open that stuff up, but anybody could get in with a US VPN. And I was going someplace with this story here. Oh, so do you know how platforms are valued on Wall Street?
No.
They're all valued based on their creator base, how many people are actually using it, not the visitors, because you have an audience and you bring in an audience to watch your stuff like Joe Rogan does. And so yes. you take Joe Rogan, and if you're both on YouTube, you have the same value, even though, Joe obviously is worth more, but they value the creators based on, they base the platforms based on the creator base. So the easiest one to figure out is Rumble, because Rumble's a standalone. They have 250,000 creators. And the last I checked, the market cap was about $2.5 billion. I think it bounces between 2 and 3 billion. So if you take the 250,000 creators and divide it into the 2.5 billion, it's 10,000 a creator. Somebody told me on Friday, it was a friend of mine in Chicago that told me that he was watching the news. YouTube did an audit about 1.5 years ago, and they valued the company around 550 or 600 billion. The new value is $1 trillion. $1 trillion. Okay. They have 60 million creators. So at 600 million, they're worth 10,000 a pop. They're probably worth 12,000. The point is that's the marketplace, right? So what I'm in the process of doing is scaling my creator base. So we currently have a little over 6,000, like 6,100 creators that are producing local news all over the United States, local, state, and national news. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because as we expand and grow, the value of the digital property grows. Make sense?
Yes.
And so, when we talked about like we're doing an investment opportunity, my background is capital raising. It's all I've ever done. I've only done it through institutions because it's very difficult to go get $300 out of somebody and build and scale a YouTube or an eBay, right? Mm-hmm. And what we're doing, the future of news is going to be a creator-based hyperlocal news platform, most likely global, right? With a social component where the public can interact and share in the narrative, along with a monetization model where, creators could submit their work and share in the ad revenue in a self-service ad platform. Somebody could buy an ad targeted to one zip code. So what I just described basically is every single platform. It's just my niche is local news. Nobody does that. So this is what's going to become the next mainstream media. But I'm bringing this up to you because as we expand, I'm not raising capital through institutions, which is the easier way because they have all the money. I'm doing something called an equity crowd fund. Are you familiar with those? It's not
Yes.
like a give and go. So this is actual brokerage firm. It's securities, but it allows 100% of the people to buy, not
Yeah.
just the not just accredited investors, which represents 1% of the population. So 99% of the people, like everybody, can actually purchase along with the accredited. They're just limited to what they can spend.
Yes.
So it's based on your income. You have to report your income. If you put it really big, you have to prove it. Okay, probably with some kind of tax documents or something like that. But on a minimum level, like the average investor probably puts in about $1,500, $1,200 to us. But I have people doing $300 and $3,000, and just depends on. But they're more cause driven because to me, the reason we're in the mess we're in is because of the legacy media, but it's because it's 6 institutions that are controlling the narrative.
Yes.
So if I go to the same 6 institutions, like what would you tell me if I said, hey, we just picked up 30 million from BlackRock and Vanguard? What would you say?
You're like, you just got sold out.
Right. Just sold out, right? So what we decided to do is the equity crowd fund, because now the people can own the product, not the institutions. And like we decentralize the news business and we democratize who gets to say it. What the cool thing about equity crowd funds is the equity crowd funds completely decentralize the investment world, because name one company that wasn't funded through Silicon Valley, one tech giant. You can't.
No.
Okay, Google, Facebook, eBay, Amazon, Netflix, all of them, LinkedIn, were all funded through Silicon Valley.
Yes.
And that's how it works. And so the the rich people were able to buy Facebook at 50 cents or $1, and then they scale them up until they take them public, and then they sell them to people like us, and we're paying $30 and $40 and $50 a share, and they're making all the money.
Yes.
So basically what equity crowd funds do is they allow the masses to buy. So I don't need $30 million from one guy. I could get $30 million from, 10,000 people, right? At $3,000 a pop or something like that.
Yes.
So it completely decentralizes it, but now the people own it, not the institutions. And trust me when I tell you, and I've had conversations with people I know who have who run institutions, and at my level, they would, if they're going to put in big money, they're going to want control.
Yes.
100%. It's just how it works.
Yes, it is.
So now my plan is, now that you know the value to the digital property, everybody call it is worth 10 grand. Now I know if I have 50,000 creators, I'm worth 500 million. If I have 100,000, I'm worth $1 billion. So when you go to raise capital, when you go public and you have $1 billion value, if you sell 10% of the company for 100 million, you're not going to get it through the little guys spending $500. You're going to get it through institutions, but they can't control anything.
Yes.
Because the ship has left, right? The train left the station, and now the only thing they could do is jump on to make whatever's remaining.
Yes, and then they don't get control, which is good.
And then they don't get control. A little harder to do it this way, but I'm getting there. So,
well, it's the way to go. I just got to take a short break. I've got to play a commercial from a sponsor, so we'll be right back.
Terrio, co-founder of Mark37.com. I spent my career in Silicon Valley working for high-tech infrastructure companies, and I've witnessed firsthand the surveillance apparatus they've built. Most of you already know we're in a digital war right now, but are you really aware that we're trying to fight this war with the weapons and tools of the enemy? That Android or iPhone in your pocket? That MacBook or Windows laptop? It's a tracking device feeding everything you say and do to companies that want you under their control or eliminated entirely. Every text, call, location, even how long you pause on a post, they track it all and use complex algorithms to then use this data to manipulate your behavior. If you knew someone hacked your devices and was selling your data without your consent, you'd be furious and terrified. So why are you okay with these companies doing this to you right now? Here's what they don't want you to know. There is another way. At Mark37.com, we offer phones, laptops, tablets, and even basic flip phones, all running systems big tech can't access unless you explicitly give them access. And what's even better is you also don't need to sacrifice productivity. I'm one of thousands of geeks mobilized across this country, building tools and providing education and support to help you live anonymously online before they enforce digital ID. Go to mark37.com. Sign up for a free 30-minute digital privacy consultation. Join hundreds of thousands who have decided to stop feeding their data to companies actively working to enslave us. Take back your communications. Take back your data. And may God bless you on your journey.
Yes, and I got myself one of the phones there. And if you go to mark37.com, use the promo code CARES to get a 5% discount. Especially here in Canada, where they're stealing your data left, right, and center. This is a good thing to have. I have some secure communication. I've migrated some of my stuff over. Fortunately, I have more than one phone, but I'm working on getting them down to one. But this is a good investment. I would suggest everybody to use it. And also, if you want to find other ways to support, you can go to mypillow.com and use the promo code CARES, get yourself something good. Or you can support with the links in the ticker, and you will see the link for the new website for the CARES project. Go check it out to see all the things that we're doing there and support a good cause. All right. So kind of back to what we were saying, and he was talking about Silicon Valley. That's another issue that changed the way the media worked altogether. And that's allowed the government to have more control over the media, which they shouldn't have. And we need to have more initiatives to stop that from happening. Decentralization is bad when it comes down for the media. We can't have that.
It's all a good old boys club. So everything needs the capital. So they have all the big institutions. Silicon Valley picks the deals. They bring in all the institutions to scale them. They know exactly what's going to happen and what kind of power and control they're going to have. And then they control it all. Okay, trust me when I tell you, if I brought real institutional money into my platform, these guys would control it all. And then what they would do is they would build it and scale it across the globe, and then they would change the culture. 100%. What would you do if you were them, right? They've already proven that they're interested in controlling everything. So without a free press, we're all screwed, right? The local newspapers always been the backbone of a free society. Without it, we're really all screwed. And that's the void we fill because nobody's focused on the local.
Well, and the multinational corporations don't play by the same rules. And they end up having, when you can start drawing capital from your operations in other countries, it makes it very difficult for local economies or local businesses to fight against this. And this is where people have to start making a choice on where you're going to get your news or whatever your products are from, because one is going to support you domestically and help your interests, and one is going to support somebody that's halfway across the globe that you will never see their face, they'll never be accountable to you, and they have no vested interest in telling the truth or giving you a good product. All they care about is their bottom line. So we have to start choosing where we're going to go with what we're doing. So if you want to use news, use something local, because it's going to help your community. It's going to help the people, your neighbor, and everybody's going to get the truth. Or you can go to these big corporations, and even though they might be an American corporation, how many people own shares in them that are in these big, like BlackRock and Vanguard and so forth, that are really the ones that own them? Because if you look at all the media companies, those guys own them all.
Well said. They own them all, and they control all the messaging across, at least for the United States, right? They control everything that's going on. And then you saw with the NGOs, they're spending money overseas to control that narrative. Think about it. Our tax money is going to other countries to push a narrative that doesn't benefit us. That should be infuriating to people. So it just disgusts me. So ultimately, like I said, you either start a civil war and you fix the problem, or you control the next mainstream media. Since the legacy media is not going to survive, make no mistake about it, what I do will become the next mainstream media, a citizen-powered press. So anybody interested in becoming a journalist on our platform, you just go to yournews.com, scroll down to the bottom, and it'll say become a citizen journalist. There's a few videos you could watch. You fill out the application, and you're good to go. Anybody interested in investing, there's an invest button, which takes you to our equity crowdfund page. You could read about what we're doing. If you like what you hear, you can make an investment. You can spend $300 and anywhere in between. Looking for people who are cause driven. That's really all of my investors are the people that are disgusted with what's happening and say and believe that what we're doing is going to fix it. Not to mention the fact I have 6,100 and something odd news reporters. Name one news outlet that has that many. They don't exist. I'm it. So there you go.
Well, I mean, getting the power back in the hands of the people, I think, is what needs to be done. When you look at the way the Constitution it was structured for limited government, more local accountability, and that's what really needs to happen, even with the business model. Because if you have a small business or a local business, which each creator is a local business, they're going to be accountable to the people in their community. This is what you want, because that's going to create a system of checks and balances. Like, I've worked for multinational corporations. I've also worked for small businesses. I would prefer to work for a small business because they're accountable to the people in their community. They know the people. They generally want to help the people, and they're not going to cut you unless it's absolutely necessary. Now, if you're in a multinational corporation, well, oh, no, you're not, we need to make more money, cut 10,000 jobs. Who cares? We want to have more of that, and you're going to get a better product. Capitalism works the best when you have it local, because then you're going to be able to meet the needs of the people, and people are going to benefit from it, as opposed to having some guy like sitting in Hong Kong that's going to do stuff over here. He knows nothing about what's going on here. You need to have a beat on the pulse of your community to properly serve them, right? And if you're going to do a product, it has to be local.
As I said it before, do you want to listen to the person on CNN telling you what's happening in your community, or would you rather listen to somebody who's sitting right there in the community reporting on it? And that's the point. I mean, nobody knows the community better than the people who actually live there. So, the good news is we have a massive amount of growth to do. As I told you, we have all these different topics from sports, business, politics, entertainment. I mean, if you think about high school sports, right, how many there are and how many high schools there are. I looked up one day in Maricopa County, Arizona, there was something like 80 high schools. And, not one person could cover them. I mean, you could have one person covering each sport, per high school. Okay. So there's a lot of information that's just in one county, and there's something like 3,300 counties. There's 20,000 cities. So if you look at all the different categories, I'm guessing, 50 people a city, probably about 1 million people. That's just for monetized. Then you got all the PR firms and the nonprofits. And believe me, the content we get from PR firms, I mean, some of it is phenomenal. It's like, local events. I mean, things that are happening in the community, stuff like that, which we want, antique shows, bake sales, stuff like that, nonprofits at church, right? If the Cancer Society is having a 5K run, they want to be able to broadcast that to the local community. So, we don't monetize stuff like that, but, that's great content to have, so I have some markets where I don't think there's anything in Houston that's going on right now that people in Houston don't know about. We cover everything. When it comes to local events, things that are happening in community. I actually know that AC/DC is coming to Houston. I don't remember the date. How do I know that? I'm like, no kidding. I didn't even know they were still playing. I used to listen to them when I was like 16, 17 years old.
Yes, I remember them from when I was a kid. Yes.
You were 7. Sorry.
Yeah, I grew up with the people, like a lot of the kids coming with their AC/DC stuff, like to school and stuff in an elementary. I remember they had a concert, and they had concerts. I didn't live far from where the stadium was in Winnipeg, and when they would have the open air concerts, we could hear them from where we were at.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in Canada.
Yes, unfortunately. I mean, it's more communist. I love the country, like beautiful country. I've been coast to coast, and I've traveled the country it is the States is very similar, but Canada is less people and it's less pollution. And so that you can't beat, because when I saw the Mississippi River, I was like, wow, that is dirty. It is dirty. Like, people have no respect or whatever. Hopefully they've cleaned it up now, but still, the country is nice. The government, not nice at all.
It's because they turned it into a business. It's all about corruption and money, and they just want more money. That's all it is. They would prefer to be able to take everything you own, and then they would even mismanage that. Okay, they would lose it all. So it's nuts. By the way, Canada's got great hockey players. That I will tell you.
Yes, they do.
I know, because I used to live in Illinois. I played a lot of hockey as a kid, and then I went to Minnesota, did fine there. When I went to Canada, it was like I never even put on a pair of skates.
I know, because they do hockey like you guys do football, right?
Yes, wow, they were phenomenal.
Yeah, the one thing, I wanted, they used to, here in Canada, in the media, they used to have a law that it was illegal for you to lie to the public. They changed that a few years back. And this tells you everything that you need to know. Because before it was like literally criminal to lie to the public, but now the government is paying them to lie to people. That tells you the state of the world. If the government is removing laws to lie and then they're paying them to give a narrative, that tells you that you need to go elsewhere.
Yes, it's exactly what it tells you. Hey, look at California. They made it a crime, the Nick Shirley law, to go and find out a crime, right? To be reporting on a crime is a crime.
Yes, and they need people to report on this. And speaking about Nick Shirley and the fraud, Nick Shirley is just the tip of the iceberg. Most people don't realize how much the governmental fraud there is, and it's astounding. Your taxes would be nowhere near as high if they were not engaging in so much fraud. For example, a guy here in Canada, in Chester, just outside of Calgary in Alberta, they were doing so much fraud with the projects and inflating the costs of them, and they were paying people, and they had their whole crew of people that they would be using over and over again. And they were inflating the cost of things. Like, for example, a building that would have cost like $3 to $5 million, they were wanting to charge maybe $8 million. They were charging like 90, saying that it was going to cost $90 million. And we're like, that doesn't make any sense. For like the engineering costs, it's not going to change. And we understand dealing with stuff. And the guy had construction experience, but when he went to expose it, they yanked him. But we need people to report these things, because people have no idea on the scale of this. Because if people reported on the fraud, people would get pissed off and they would do something about it, because they might not care about things, but everybody wants their money. And your money is being stolen left, right, and center, because the mainstream media is staying silent while we're getting robbed blind.
And what's a shame is, if you think about how easy it is to fix the fraud, you first of all shut it all down, like with SNAP benefits, and then everybody has to go back and reapply, okay? And then they have to be vetted. And all this may take a little bit of time, but next thing you know, you'd have the proper people getting the proper money. But then you have the court system that are now saying you can't do that. And the states that don't want to turn over the roles for the people that are on SNAP benefits, they don't want to show you who's actually doing it. I mean, that just tells you that they're in on it. So,
yes.
And like you said, the courts are all of a sudden, they're part of the problem. They're the biggest part. The federal government should say, you know what, we're beyond your laws. So here's what's going to happen. The American people are not going to pay for people in California or Minneapolis for food stamps. Let the people in Minneapolis pay for the people to have food stamps, and watch how fast it all changes.
Yes. Well, why?
Because my money in Florida is going to go to Florida people. Your money in Minnesota is going to go to. So if your government wants to give all your money to illegals, to immigrants, to Haitians, let them. Okay? And if you keep voting them in, good for you. Eventually, you're not going to have any more money, but they're not going to get it from the feds.
No, and they really need to come in and deal with this. Like I mean, like you sat down and said, when you had the civil rights movement, when the states were violating people's constitutional rights, the federal government stepped in. And that was like, literally, they used powers under Article 4, Section 4 to do that. Now you're in a situation where you're having no rights, and the states and the courts and everybody are all part of the same gravy train. They need to do the same type of thing to rectify this situation. This won't happen until the public is informed and the public gets pissed off. And we have a limited amount of time because they got the midterms coming up. The midterms, I mean, if things go sideways, we're cooked, because, I mean, they're going to go through the same impeachment process again and all this kind of stuff. And regardless of whatever people say, I know they're all corrupt and they're all part like a uniparty type of thing. But if you go down to the Democrats, it's going to happen a lot faster, right? At least if you can slow it down, which is what we need, and then people can go ahead and make some changes. We have to buy the time to do what needs to be done. That's really it.
Totally agree. It's got to happen. I think Doge already exposed all the corruption. Now I'm hoping they're still doing the doging for all this stuff. But at the end of the day, they need to cut it all off. So that's the other problem is how much of this stuff is actually being fixed. Is CNN still getting money from the United States government? Do we even know this stuff? I mean, how much money has been stopped in spending? And I don't know the answer to any of that, but let's hope they stopped a lot of it.
Well, they'll stop some of the federal funding, but we also have to remember that they need to start stopping it locally in each state, in each county, right?
You need to let the states do that, though. So I get it. But when it comes to the federal, this is where they print all the money, right? This is where they give it all. So as I say, if I have a governor that has a surplus that not only balanced the budget, but has a surplus and loans money to other states, we don't have a financial problem here. But then you have all these other states that are broke, that are looking for money, and they're stealing everything, right? So then the federal government bails them out.
But this is where the federal government needs to start looking at what the states are doing, right? Because a lot of these states are broke because of what they're doing, not the fact that they don't have money. It's what they're doing with the money. And then once they've wasted their money, they come to the federal government to drain it even more.
So you mean like building a train and putting $30 billion into something that never even was built? Is that what you're talking about?
Like that kind of stuff, yes.
Okay, is that illegal or mismanagement?
That's illegal. That's you can't steal people's money and not deliver.
But yet they're able to do it. There's no investigations, there's no crimes, there's no indictments, there's no nothing. That's the whole thing. And so nobody's ever going to go to jail for that. And as a matter of fact, they'll probably raise another 100 billion and they'll get another 10 feet of track.
Well, why the question is why? Because like I tell people, I said, the Constitution of the United States starts with we, the people. It didn't say we, the government, or I, the president, or any of that. It said we, the people. It is a representative form of government. You get the government that you deserve because we have been asleep and most people don't do anything. If we had even 6% of the population doing something, this would be over a long time ago. We have probably less than 1% that are actually doing anything. Now, if we got to at least 1% of people doing things, we would reach a critical mass because, for example, the Revolutionary War, they didn't start with the 3%, they ended with the 3%, right? Because most people are going to be apathetic and do nothing. But the people are the ones that have to do something about it, and everybody has to play their part. The media's part, the people doing the politics' part, everybody has to do something. I don't care what it is, but do something, because these guys get away with it because no one does nothing. Evil prevails because good men do nothing. That's why this happens. And now people need to get up and do something, play your part, and do something. That's how changes happen.
I'm in. Well, I'm doing my part. So what we're doing is building an army of citizen reporters that's going to replace the legacy media. But they're still going to have to get out there and uncover the corruption, and then we'll publish it. And that'll shed light on that. That's what they don't want, is shedding light on this stuff. So I'm sure at some point in time, I'm going to be considered a a criminal for exposing corruption, right?
Well, if the criminals think you're a criminal, that means you're a good guy, right?
That means I'm doing something right. Yeah, no, this is. I agree. I'm on the same page with you. It just needs to be done faster.
Yes, I agree, and I mean I think that what you're doing is good, and I think that even with what I'm doing, what a lot of other people that I'm connecting with, this will work because then whatever people are interested, they can report on, and then it will help everybody, and everybody kind of working together and networking together will help everybody else succeed, which is what we need. Because one of the other things that is happening is that the financial legs are being cut off of people. Like I'm going to upgrade my computer, and the cost of, for example, the same parts that are like triple the price than it was 2 years ago, and you're getting the same type of things that you got 2 years ago, 3 years ago, for triple the price, and
Isn't
it's
that
drive.
nuts?
Yes. And it's like this is a Silicon Valley issue because they took all of the manufacturing elsewhere. And people need to start reporting on really what's happening because they talk about, for example, they're going to win the AI race. Really? How so? You don't have the infrastructure for it. You're dependent on China for it, but nobody knows that. But they just see, like, for example, Elon Musk talking about stuff, but he's still just dependent on them because you look at all of this, for example, the drives that are used for AI and stuff like that in computers, almost all of it is made in Asia. You got three companies, two of them are two in South Korea, one Japanese. They're primary. That's like you're looking at 80% of the of that. You got two American companies. Only one produces domestically, and that's in Idaho, and the other one is in conjunction with Samsung. So at the end of the day, you've really only got one American company that does this, and the rest of them they're Asian countries.
Mhm.
How? Most people don't know this, but if they had people that were reporting this, then people would be like, wait a second, how are we going to get this done? You need to have an informed public. That's why it's part of the First Amendment.
Completely agree. I'm working on it, Dale. That's the whole key to this whole thing is building an army of people like you. That's what
Ab-
we're doing.
Absolutely, and I think that this. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say you got to start with the first guy. I'm at about 6,100 now. So,
Oh yes, and so we need to get this kind of stuff going and have that happening and get people going on this. I fully support this type of stuff because this is the type of stuff that we need to have happen, and that people need to take the power back in their hands and go to things locally. Local will translate to national because you need to, like how when Budweiser went woke and people started to cut them by taking their dollars elsewhere. They need to do the same thing with the media. Stop complaining about the mainstream media. Go and take your media from somewhere else so that they will eventually die because they're not providing the service that people need. Really it.
listen, that's going to happen anyway. I mean, the average person watching cable news is in their 70s and nobody's following up behind. So, that ship has sailed. What we need to do is make sure that we're the ones that control the next mainstream media. So this is why, I'm looking for investors to scale this thing and fuel it, but I'm not going the route which normal companies would do, which is through the institutional money, simply because I want to make sure that we are a people-powered press and it's owned by the people, right? By the people, for the people. So anybody interested in making an investment, please go look at our deck. You go to yournews.com, go down to the bottom of the page. There's something that says invest. It'll take you to our equity crowdfund page. It's owned by a brokerage firm. You can read about it and you'll make an investment right through their portal. And you can spend $300 if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, that would be a good idea for people to go on there. I was looking at your website that talked about that and saw some of the people that you had on your board. I actually know Alex Newman. He had me on a show just the other day. Yes.
Very cool. Yeah, no, Alex is a good guy. I mean, there's a handful of people on there. I could get a lot more. My interest right now is in it getting to about, I think by the time we get 20 to 30,000 creators, this thing is going to take on a life of its own. I mean, it's already a ton of work, but once you get to a point where you've got critical mass, there's no stopping it. And then
Yes.
it's just, that'll start attracting. So we're well on our way. There is no competition. We have nobody in our space. So now we just need to make sure we get big enough, quick enough to build this thing out so we can actually, get a head start and become the next mainstream media. We're well on our way. Nobody has 6 reporters, let alone 6,000.
Yes. And so if you like, I know we're coming up to the end of time here, what would you want to say to people about, the media and what you're doing and where you want it to go and how they can help and so forth and get more involved?
Sure. The legacy media is going to go out of business no matter what. What I do is inevitable. They're not going out of business because they're lying. They're going out of business because it's an antiquated product. It's the reason you don't send a telegraph. It's because somebody created something called the telephone. It's the reason you don't get in a horse and buggy. It's because somebody created, the automobile. So there's always a product that will replace something else. And I always use the example, and Dale, you know this, everybody's watched Star Trek where they used to beam people. If somebody could figure out how to beam me from one place to the other, I would never get on a plane again. Airlines would go out of business. So what I do is inevitable. It's all going to creator-based platforms. For local news, that's our niche, and nobody's in this space. So for the public, what I'm looking for is for the citizens to be able to fund this, not the institutional money, so we can scale this. And I'm going to say one other thing. Normally, companies like mine, like you may have listened to people, and they're looking for investment capital and they have to figure out their model. I have 6,000 news reporters. We do not need to figure anything out. Instead of picking up 300 or 400 news reporters this month, we need to pick up 3,000 or 4,000. That's just a function of marketing. With growth, you're always going to have growing pains. So the capital is what fills the void to fix the growing pains that you're going to have. Because currently, we probably bring in between 200 and 2,500 articles a week. Some days a little more, some days a little less. So let's just say we're bringing in 300-400 articles a day. Well, there's going to be a day where we're bringing in 3,000 or 4,000 a day. And so all articles have to be reviewed, not so much for fact checking, but just to make sure they're going to the proper subject and the proper geography. Because if you didn't do that, everybody's kid's Little League game would be front page national news. But the public will let us know if somebody's lying, which, by the way, has never happened. I've had people that complained that the reporters were reporting on the facts they didn't want the public to know about. I've had a few of those, like in the last month and a half. But other than that, this is all inevitable. So we're looking for we, the people, to fund this thing. So if you're looking for something that is a good investment, and if you were one of those people that didn't buy Facebook or didn't buy Twitter, this has the same scale because the valuation we're selling it at now. Remember, each content creator, find the market cap of Rumble and divide the creator base into it. It's 250,000 creators, but I think their value is roughly $2.5 billion. It's about 10,000 a creator. Same with YouTube. The 10,000 a creator at 100,000 creators, you have $1 billion value, and you're only 10% of the way there. So this has a massive scale.
Well, I mean, that's good, and I support what you're doing. I like the idea of having an alternative press, and that the ones that people have the control over, and that they have more incentive to tell the truth on what's going on, and they, to supply this to the communities, which is necessary. And so I will say everybody to support Sam and what he's doing. I'm going to close here with a prayer, and everybody use the press, get involved, make changes to your country, because if you don't do it, the government will never do it for you. All right. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy, and all the things that you have done for us. And Lord, we thank you for the work that we are all doing and what Sam is doing to help to restore the country and give freedom to the people and all the other people who are standing up to do the same things. And help us that we would come together to rebuild our families, our churches, our community, and our nation, that we could have some protection for the children and a future for them is my prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you again next time.